Okay, so this gets a little nerdy, but I want you to bear with me. I was honestly out here racking my brains on the best way to actually show off this module, The Uncertainty by Oliva Artz Modular. They had sent it to me a really long time back. Liv is really, really sweet. She's been very patient with me, but I didn't really know what to do. See, initially I had this idea that I was going to set up this really complicated thing in Bitwig where I was going to use all the modulators to send different rates of triggers to the input, but it really just wasn't working out. I kind of got out of the actual synthesis side of modular synthesis, and it wasn't until a little while ago that I got back into actually how I want to use Modulate from now on, which is as an audio processing device. So what I'm doing here is, and it's less complicated than it looks, believe me. What I'm doing here is I have some acoustic guitar that I recorded a minute ago. And I've been working on the song for a really long time, and on the figure 8 guitar, this nice wide stereo spread, I have this kind of granular effect that I made with the Soundtoys effect rack, and it sounds like this. Very spacey, really nice, super easy to set up. I really love the Soundtoy stuff for this reason, but I've been wanting to experiment more with actually using the things I paid for. I had lent Data Bender to a friend for a really long time, and I just got it back in addition to the 1U MIDI from IntelliGel, the new smaller one, and the Quantus Ampla. It's 4 mono VCAs. I'm using it as 2 stereo pairs for this audio processing chain I have going. Right now, I only have a stereo in coming from this Bifaco stereo amp. Amazing little module. And then going into the Endorphins mixer, the Cockpit 1U, which is way more powerful than I think most people realize. So really all the complicated stuff is happening in this little corner, and kind of with the MIDI routing. The MIDI routing is actually pretty simple. So Ethernet cable from this little MIDI box down here, you probably can't see it, into my actual Wi-Fi router. And then I set up in the app for this, Oracle for X Series it's called, I set up an RTP session. I just name one of the ports, and then I go into my network MIDI session on Audio MIDI set up on Mac. And then I just essentially create a little session that says, hey, same name, automatically connects, do some port assigning in the background, and then it just kind of shows up in my DAW because it's already talking to it over the network. Really low latency, really nice. What I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to try to set up a Data Bender patch that replaces what's going on in Effect Rack, and here's how I intend to do that. First things first, disable Effect Rack. And then I'm going to turn the mix on Data Bender all the way up. Initially, I was trying to use Pipeline, which is Studio One, my DAW of choices, version of how you might use an insert effect in, Logic or in Ableton. But I was experiencing kind of a weird bug. I actually had a whole system crash, which I've never had before, especially not on my work computer. So instead, I've just set up a bus that I'm using as a send that sends out, and then I have an audio track that's coming back in. That's for later, though, when I'm actually recording. Right now, we're actually just live monitoring. So now I have the mix all the way up on this, and I'm actually going to unmute this mixer channel on the modular, and we're going to start hearing Data Bender sounds. Beautiful, lovely. We all know it. We've all heard it. I've had this module pretty much since it came out. It was one of the last modules that I bought in my big buying spree back when. And every time I've used it for performance, I have actually only ever clocked the freeze and the actual internal clock. I've never really used the CV inputs because I've just been manually performing audio going into that. But what I want to do now is actually try the opposite of that. So here's the little routing so far. stereo out from the DAW into Data Bender. Data Bender goes into Prism. Prism isn't doing anything, but I have a clock running to it in case I want to do some filtering. Then out, left, and right goes into Quantus Ampla. Right now it's set to attenuate mode, so any incoming CV is actually going to be automatically inverted, which is why you're just hearing it come right through the mixer channel, which is now unmuted. And so we're just hearing that live. Etc., etc. So here's where I think the magic is really going to happen. This little clocking area over here. So I have clock and run, not reset, run, coming from MIDI 1U, again, just over the network. That is going into this mult, this pair of mults actually, and then up to Pam's workout. And then Pam's is sending on channel 4, just a ×4 clock to this clock divider, the G8 that I have. And then I'm also sending the reset multed from the MIDI into the clock divider. All right, so bear with me. Again, this gets kind of nerdy, but I think it's worth it, and I think it's really going to work. So the ×4 clock gets multed once more, and then one copy of that goes into the top channel, the left side of the top channel on Switchblade. And then I have the ×2 clock, or rather it's divided, so it'd be divided by, ×2 as opposed to the ×4 clock, coming into the other multed into the other side of that same Switchblade channel. I then have that switch being flipped by, let's see, damn, can I do math on the fly? Probably not while I'm trying to talk to a camera. Essentially the 6 out from this, because it's just doing the clock divisions right now. Usually I'm sending actually even steps, like even counts. But right now we're going to try it like this, see what rhythms we can get if we switch it over later. The 6 times division is switching that over, and then the resulting trigger from there is actually going into uncertainty. Don't worry, we're going to get to that in a second. I have one other pair of the divided by 4 and the divided by 2 coming again out of this second set of mults. That's going to the next channel of Switchblade, which is being then switched over, flip-flopped by the divided by 4 output. And then finally, I'm actually just taking that same clock and sending it to Data Bender, and then one actually to this envelope, which we're going to use for Quantus Ampla later. That's a little thing that I got going on there. This is actually something I do pretty often with this collection of modules is, make kind of like switch clock divisions sending to different clock sources. What I'm going to do now is start plugging some cables. And the first things first is, let's, I guess, talk a little bit about how this module actually works. So uncertainty, it's going to take a trigger at the input, which is right at the top, and then do, I forget if it was coin toss logic or dice roll logic to determine whether or not that trigger is going to be passed to any of the outputs that follow below it. The one at the top is the highest probability of actually passing the signal through, and then it gets progressively lower and lower. So what I'm going to do, first of all, because this is my favorite thing to do with Data Bender, it's also my favorite thing to do with beads, I'm going to take this second output, I'm going to plug it right into the freeze. As soon as I hit play, we're going to start hearing some stuff. Okay, so that's what I wanted. I wanted this to periodically just kind of start freezing, start glitching, and have it be related again rhythmically, have the triggers be related rhythmically to the tempo, but without me having to manually control it or it being a firm sequence. That's something I want to avoid here. 2 outputs down, and then I'm going to 3 outputs down. I have these 2 other signals coming, and these are heading into these 2 envelopes. So the first is the make noise function, but then it's also triggering this copy of tides that I have. So function is sending both of its outputs into the slope and the frequency of tides, which is going to be in envelope mode, just kind of an AD envelope mode. I'm going to take the negative output and I'm going to go ahead and invert that so we're also getting positive, and then I'm going to positively, or rather I'm going to open the attenuator on the frequency for tides. So when this starts getting triggers, we're going to start sending, envelopes whipping into these two controls. But what we're actually going to be doing is taking these four, we're going to send them all over the place. Two of them, 1 and 2, I forget which mode this is in, but yeah, 1 and 2, we're going to send first into the CV for the bend, and then also the CV for the break. Again, I have barely ever actually used the CV controls on Data Bender because I've just been, it's mostly been repeats and time and then, a little bit of freeze and then set the other things later. But, it has the CVs, it has the gates. I might as well use it, right? So let's actually see what we can get from just hitting play and then going on with this. Wow, that's pretty extreme. Okay. Let's start setting some envelope parameters. Want a little bit of a longer. Make that smooth. Change the rate. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, okay. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, that's the Data Bender sound. All right, let's bring it a little corrupt. Ooh, too much corrupt. Let's pull that back. All right, this might be time for some high pass filtering. Bring resonance down. All right, that's beautiful. Yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay. Next thing's next. We're gonna take this cable right here. Boop, boop, boop. We're gonna plug it into CV input 3 on Quantus Ampla, and we are going to start side chaining this according to this function generator down here. Turn up the output. Nice. Okay, yeah, so we have this loop going. It's just kind of coming in underneath. Probably move the bass a little. Let me actually turn this into an envelope. Great. What I want to do next, I want to take 3 and 4 out of tides right here. I'm going to start sending these into these envelope parameters. See how extreme it gets. Let's start with the fall. You really hearing that? Let's see. Yeah. 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 Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I see. Interesting. Okay. That's good. It's not great, so I'm gonna change my strategy now. We already have some cool stuff going on in this envelope. I think we can probably leave the Tenderfoot hike over here. Awesome module, by the way. I think we'll probably just like leave it as it is. I have this woggle bug in here. It's not mine. Actually, none of these three modules right here are mine, but it's here. I might as well try using it. So I had left this channel on Switchblade open a minute ago. So I can go ahead and clock that externally. Yeah. I am relatively certain that is how that works. No, it's down here. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Great. Which actually just gives me the sample and hold. That much is obvious. So I'm going to send the sample and hold. Ooh, where do we want to send this? I think I'm going to send this to the time on Prism. That seems fun. Let's actually just hear what Prism is doing solo. Uh-huh. Alright, cool. We're still getting a freeze. Let's take that out for now. Where you at, Prism? Where you at? Yeah, there we go. Boing, bang, bang. I hear you. Let's turn on the sidechain. It's almost like resonating. I hope this sounds as interesting to you as it does to me. This is the kind of stuff I've actually really been looking for and not looking forward to now that I can actually use this modular again. All right, let's bring the star of the show back in. I'm going to turn down the time, and I think we're going to give the sample and hold to the cutoff. That feels fun. That feels flirty. No, just fun. I'm going to send this fourth output over here to time because I feel like I'm touching that a lot and I want to let it do its thing. You know what? While I'm here, repeats as well. We're going to use almost every jack on this thing. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Qubit stuff is really amazing. I've been super interested in all of the modules they've been making on the Daisy platform. Databender is going to remain my mainstay for the sound and also the form factor, but I would love to try the other ones. There's a big modular synth community here in Philly. I'm sure someone I've done a modular on the spot with. Or seen it, any of the weird electronic shows around here. Has one or two. Less the reverbs, more the delay stuff. There's no reverb that can do that. All right, if I don't stop, I'm just going to sit here listening to this for the next 10 minutes. I've already been recording for a minute. All right, this has been wonderful. I've been in Cozy, and I will talk to you, see you, hear you later.